Ted Cruz is now a victim of a crime. FBI Atlanta saying they went and rounded this dude up who was making some bad phone calls. Robert consciously disregarded a substantial risk that his communications would be viewed as threatening violence. 2 voicemail messages threatening violence, all in violation of the U.S. Code. Senator and podcaster Ted Cruz is now a victim of a crime. He had this person, a 26-year-old Duluth man, call him and leave voicemails attacking him and his wife, his family, on some pretty nasty voicemails. And this person also called Deb Fischer, another senator. FBI Atlanta saying they went and rounded this dude up who was making some bad phone calls. You can't do the phone calls or the text message, man. They don't play around on this, even if you're just drunk or whatever. So Ted Cruz on the receiving end of this. This guy's name is Robert. Robert Forny, 25, of Georgia, near Fannyland, was arraigned today before a U.S. federal judge on charges of communicating threats in interstate commerce. I wonder if Ted will talk about this on his show. Forny was indicted by a federal grand jury in Georgia in June. They said, threatening our elected officials and their families is an act of violence that undermines our entire democracy, said the U.S. attorney. Political discourse and disagreements never justify resorting to vile attacks against our nation's leaders. Now, targeting public officials and threatening messages is a serious federal crime, said the FBI special agent. There is no place for political violence or threats here. We will not hesitate to arrest or charge others who engage in similar conduct. Now, according to the charges and other information presented in court, back in January 9th, Forny twice called the office of Texas Senator Ted Cruz and podcast host and left voicemails in which he threatened violence of a bad kind against Senator Cruz and the senator's family. Wow. He's like, I'm going to violate you and your wife on the voicemails. Now, the following day, Forny also called the office of another U.S. senator called Deb Fischer and left a voicemail to her. Said, I'm also going to attack you, Deb. Saying members of the public are reminded these are only charges. He's presumed innocent. We've got to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But this case is part of Operation Takeback America. This is a nationwide initiative that marshals the full resources of the DOJ to repel the invasion of illegal immigration, achieve the total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organization, and protect our communities from perpetrators of violent crime. Others are prosecuting this case and being investigated by the FBI. So this guy was indicted, so we don't have a juicy criminal complaint about what is in those voice memos. But you can see, looks like he's going to get a public defender, motion to unseal. We got a public defender, Rosalind Chang, is now on the case. Judge conducted the initial appearance yesterday. He had a bond hearing, plea of not guilty as to the 2 counts. Bond set the amount of $10,000. So we'll see if he gets out of custody. Financial affidavit was filed. Bond entered, 10 G's, and he has been released. Order setting conditions of release. Looks like they're signed by the judge. And so he has been let out, hopefully not using the phone. And I'm sure that is part of his terms of release. Here was the indictment, which was filed under seal. Ted Cruz, the victim of a crime. You see, Raphael Ted was a U.S. senator representing Texas, and Deborah Deb was representing Nebraska when Robert was in Georgia and did the following. On January 9th, Robert consciously disregarded a substantial risk that his communications would be viewed as threatening violence, and he knowingly transmitted those communications in interstate commerce that contained threats to injure Raphael and his child, not the wife, and 2 voicemail messages threatening violence, all in violation of the U.S. Code. Not good. Don't attack the kids either. Count 2 also says that Forny also consciously disregarded the risk that this would be viewed as threatening, made an interstate commerce to Deb Fischer, also threatening violence of a sexual variety. We know what he's threatening there. So that came out here via a grand jury indictment. Don't give us any more details on what is absolutely inside there, which I'm sure is disgusting and horrific. So he'll be arrested, has been arrested and charged, and we'll see what happens there. And maybe Ted Cruz will talk about this on his podcast.